All right, good evening and welcome. It's October 21st, 2019. Welcome to the 6 p.m. School committee meeting. Call the meeting to order. This meeting is being both audio and videotaped this evening. I would ask that everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call to my left, please. Sophia.
Sophia Iacobucci, student representative.
Bill Fonseca.
Rich Ficero.
Sarah Trulio.
Gregory Thompson.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Antonella Rochilla.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business. Kathy Saletti, Recording Secretary.
He's for a badge.
Thank you all. I have some minutes for approval.
I make a motion to approve the October 7th, 2019 regular session committee minutes.
Motion made
I'll second.
and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0. Committee and subcommittee communications. Sophia, please.
Okay, so this month at the high school, kind of looking later into the month. So next week we're doing the Spirit Week, which is always exciting. And then I've actually been able to be on the diversity committee. So as a student, I was able to go to that meeting kind of with some administration was there, some parents, teachers. So that was a great experience, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else we kind of get accomplished there. So.
A survey just went out to staff. Interested to see what comes back.
Great, thank you. Bill.
Based on our last meeting, I did reach out to Maple Shades principal, Mr. Fredette, as our adopted school. I'm going to set up some times with him to start getting involved in some of the activities over there and touring the building, and I will report back to everybody once I get this up and running.
Excellent. Thank you. Rich.
I got a few things. First, I just want to throw what Sophia said. Yeah, the consultants, the Center for Leadership and Education Equity, I found extremely engaging. I don't think so, Sophia. They really had us do a lot of data analysis and a lot of brainstorming. So at the second, what Sophia said, very impressive with the consultants we're working with, the diversity committee. Follow those points. I visited Tim Allen and Connor Martin at Birchland Park. Very impressed. They took me through their scores, and they took me through, I guess you really have to concentrate on that lower 25 percentile. And they took me through, which was already in the whiteboard from days ago, all the different interventions and the different types of outreach they're doing with all their students. It was very impressive. And I was second with those, very impressive meeting with them. They really get more of an in-depth feel for the school than we get with the SMART goals. I went to a couple of athletic events. And kind of a disturbing thing, I was at a wedding and I met up with a young student named Michaela Lyman. She's an 8th grader at Birchland Park. And I mentioned I was on the school committee, we're joking around. And she said, by the way, none of us want to go to high school. I said, what are you talking about? She said, it's dingy, it's dirty, it's old. And I said, you're going to be kidding me. I think of the MSBA meeting you had, Tuesday?
Yes.
And I said, well, you said that's just, she said, no. She said, my friends and I have all decided we're doing school choice at Long Meadow or Minichog.
Oh, gee.
And I was just shocked. I mean, that an 8th grader would be that perceptive, and she was extremely emphatic about it. I was really, it kind of ruined my night. But anyway, I thought that was just interesting for the community here.
That's great. Thank you, I think.
Well, we did have a very positive visit
Sarah, please.
with
Please, yeah.
members of the MSBA and the architects that came out, and this room was full, and we continue to learn more about the process, and we toured the facilities, and just got some continued positive feedback. They were completing their tour around the state, and we'll look forward to our continued conversation with those individuals and hopefully hear positive results by the end of this academic year, or the end of this school year. No,
Calendar
year, beginning of next calendar year. And then it's been great to see over at Mountain View the KIND initiative continuing. The kids are still having their, like seeing their photos being posted. So really seeing that not just being a moment in time, but really being a mantra by which that school is continuing to go forward with this academic year. So that's a nice continuation of an initiative, so that's about it.
Great, thank you. Antonella?
No, nothing right now.
Nothing. I just want to reiterate on the MSBA tour, many of us were here, Gordon, Pam, and we really hit hard on what we needed as a community, and we really pleaded our case, and I want people to know that we're trying our best. We went through the whole tour. We had members of town council, members of the town staff, just pleading our total and complete case, so hopefully we get some positive news from that.
One of the elements that they talk about is community readiness, and I think we've proven to them, East Long Meadow's ready. You know, you had the town finance director here, you had the vice president of the town council here. You know, the work we've done with them through the accelerated repair projects at Meadowbrook. I did find their questions interesting because they were asking sort of, well, have you already appropriated the money?
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
And I think there's only one community that I know of that may have appropriated it before they were invited into the eligibility period. And then I think that community decided to go on their own
Yeah, they
to
did.
do the project on their own.
They did. To that point, they did tell us they had 143 submissions this year. 81 of them were through the accelerated repair program, which left 62 for the core projects. They pared that down to 21. We are part of that 21, but there's also 13 still hanging out there from last year that are going to be lumped into that 21. So there's like 35 schools that we are in the queue with, 34 other schools for core projects. So
How many will they choose?
they don't know, depending on their
Last year was what, 13?
Last year was 13, 12 last year.
30%?
It's all,
I mean-
Yeah, we'll change.
it's all based
Well,
on square footage.
23?
Depends
Now-
on, you know, they can only cover a certain amount of square footage with their budget. So if there are a number of high schools that are in that remaining 21, that becomes more challenging. If it's a leaner year for high schools and you're getting more elementary projects, that's actually not a bad place to be.
But they also did tell us through the Student Opportunity Act that their budget will be increased. They just don't know what the number is if this passes. It's sitting in the House now. They're supposed to take up debate this week on it. They don't know the number, but their budget their allocation would get increased through the Student Opportunity Act. That was a big part of what the Senate passed, and just a quick background on that is they looked at modernization, 21st century learning requirements in older buildings that can't handle it. So it's all positive for us going forward. You know, the opportunity's there, and they're not saying no, so we'll just have to hang in there.
I actually think Diane Sullivan, our liaison, might be able to lead the tour now.
Yeah, she probably can. Probably can.
She's been out here a few times.
So we'll keep everybody
Okay,
updated.
excellent. Thank you all on that. We have an opportunity for visitors to address the committee. Seeing none this evening, we will move on to old business, capital projects and prioritizing the 5-year capital plan.
All right, okay. In your packets, you have a spreadsheet that if you're looking online should be in blue. If you're looking at a black and white version, on a paper version, it's black and white. The FY21 projects are in that first column, and I tried to indicate at least what the buildings were thinking. So that column where you see one and then picks up Maple Shade, you see another one. That's for each building itself. A couple revisions to give you that came in on Friday after packets had gone out. First one, Mountain View new gym floor. I think we have in there still 170,000, so this is good news. It came back, we're not gonna go rubberized, we're gonna go traditional wooden floor. 65,000 was the quote that we got that came back on Friday, so that was very exciting. A lot of cheers going on in my office. Anyway. Then, just a couple asterisks where, you know, I think you had asked me questions the last time, such as Maple Shade, the asphalt play area, replace basketball hoops and so forth. That's a priority, I think, for Maple Shade, the principal and certainly the building, DPW in parentheses there, feel that we could keep that asphalt for a while longer and bump that out.
4 years.
Yeah, well, 3 years, 21, we're in FY '21 going to FY '23, right, is that right?
It's, 23.
Yeah, but you're right, yeah, okay, when the project actually finally gets done, you're right, it'll be 4 years. Let's see. And then just another note, I think it's correct on your sheets, but the Birchland carpet, that was actually nice to see. That vendor quote came back and actually is lower than last year.
With the $42,000 quote?
At 43.9, right.
Is that the accurate call?
Yes, that's the newest vendor quote
Okay.
that we've received. And then, I apologize, jumping around a little bit, back up to Maple Shade on the first page, the Phase 2 steam piping, what we had estimated that at 500,000. The more precise number going with tie and bond, looking at the Phase 1, how we break that down, even putting in a contingency, we feel it's probably going to be closer to $449,000, $429. So we saved some money there, at least.
How much was phase 1?
Phase 1 was about 460,
Yeah,
I
close to
believe.
500,000.
We did have some money left over, but originally we were thinking we were going to get the whole project done for, I don't know,
That amount,
600,000
yeah,
or
about
something.
600,000.
Yeah.
So is our goal tonight, Mr. Chair, to prioritize this list that we're doing?
Well, is that what we're trying to do? I mean, the
So-
issue is that the council and the town manager have not asked for any of it yet.
Right.
I don't even think it's on their, well, it's on
So
the radar, but.
That, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So DPW and the schools have sort of jumped into this a little faster because this is the normal time frame that we've been used to. And we don't want to get caught off guard when the town manager asks for this information. So probably we could take it to one more meeting. Nothing was asked at the last town department head meeting in terms of capital plans.
Well, thinking of our next meeting, that is our SMART goals.
That's a SMART goal
Maybe
presentation.
we're better off trying to put a draft together today,
I can bring it back.
and then bring
next
it back
week.
so we don't, because we're gonna be long with the SMART goals. At least we could.
Now you're all part of the SMART goals because we adopted a school.
Pardon me?
I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah, so I'm saying, so maybe, Mr. Chair, through you, if we could develop maybe just a draft of a list.
Yeah.
And then take a second look at it November 5th, so we're kind of working efficiently.
Sure.
Well, we might be looking at it a little further out, depending on when the council takes it up and when
Right.
we start getting clearer numbers of how they're gonna approach capital for FY '21.
Yeah, but we never get that until after we.
Oh, I know, but
The
I'm just saying, we're gonna
challenge
keep,
will be,
it's gonna be a working document.
Generally, it's a pretty quick turnaround when they decide,
I
hey,
know.
we want all your FY '21 descriptions. And so I think we're in a good spot where we're ready for that. It's just a question of whether, we have time to endorse whatever the priority list is.
Right.
They're all such big numbers.
I know. Would you like me to take a stab? at it?
Yeah, I do. Go
Okay,
with that.
well, okay, I was gonna say, item number 6, because it's phase 2, should be number 1. And then, then item number 17, I'll review the background with you again. That was number 1 last year, but we traded that to do it this year in lieu of the one-to-one technology. So I would put number 17 as number 2, and to echo Mr. Thompson's words, yeah, I know these are big ticket numbers. Then I had number 3 as item number 30, the East Long Meadow High School electrical switch. Because that's something that should be done regardless of the MSBA, correct, Mr. Smith?
Yes, this would be another step towards ensuring complete safety in terms of any possible fire risk, but also it will enable us to handle if part of the system went down, you can isolate it.
Okay, then I had number 4 as number 1, the parking lot, Meadowbrook. And then I had number 26, the Richland Park carpet replacement, so that each school had at least one item, and they're all number 1s that I used. And then last year, if I remember correctly, Mr. Chair, you recommended that we kind of extract the MSBA items in a separate category, if you remember.
Right.
So that's how we addressed the high school ones from 31 all the way down to 37. The only question I have is about the track. I was talking to Mr. McGee. We only have, what, another year with that track, or 2 years?
I know Department of Public Works would like to do it next year. You know, it's got some cracking in it and so forth, which we've been patching. It really depends on what you want to do. It's going to be a bigger ticket item than originally thought, with 157,000. Can it last with patching another few years? Probably, but they definitely would like to do, they being DPW, would like to do that, and tennis courts and certain things to just keep them on track, not lose them to multiple years.
Do we put that as 6 then?
Yeah, put that at 6 then, number 38. Just remember, this is a draft. We
Right.
can always say, you know, we don't like the way this looks. Because we usually do at least 10 or 12 items, do we not?
Well, I think we should prioritize all of FY '21's requests,
All of them?
save the high school project.
Yeah.
Well, you have the electrical switchgear and distribution panels. in there.
Oh, that was in there.
Yeah, the others are all MSBA relevant.
Right, and actually one price that we're still looking at, the $377,995 for art tables and cafeteria tables, that's being double checked with a vendor, so we should get that.
So, but that one
Where's that? Oh.
would probably be on the regular capital plan list, right?
I mean, you certainly can invest in furniture
Yep.
because that can
Right.
travel.
That can travel, yeah.
Although, that would be subject to the partial reimbursement if we put it within the
Correct.
project.
Yeah, well, if it would, yeah,
Yeah.
you would get money for it.
Good point.
So that's like
It's a lot of money.
$185,000.
Yeah.
So
But
I would leave
the,
I would still leave the high school separate.
all of them,
Yeah.
except for the switch?
Yeah.
The rental account for the stadium,
Yeah.
do you know the balance in that by chance? Because I would imagine that we'll have to give it up,
I thought it was higher than 35.
I was thinking about 35,000.
we'll have to give it up as part of a request to redo the track, I would
Right.
imagine.
Oh,
Possibly.
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, we can fight not to, but
The
I,
stadium rental should go up because we have that lacrosse recruiting
Right.
day coming up in November.
oh, yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, you want
Yeah,
to
keep going.
keep going? Okay, so now what about item number 7? Is that now being slid over, Mr. Smith, item number 7?
No, I wanted to make sure you're aware of both.
I think that's important.
Well, is it being split to FY '23 or?
Apologize.
Yeah, why the FY '23 number?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
that it-
DPW, from their perspective, feels that it can be slid over.
4 years? So why does Michael have it so high now?
They use it every day, and he feels that upgrading the basketball hoops and the asphalt makes it more conducive for,
All right, so stay with the chair's charge. I'm going to recommend that number 18 be our 7th item. And then number 7, which we were just talking about, be our 8th item. And then I would guess the roof, number 8, would be follow that. And then number 19 would follow that, and that covers every single request in FY
What was number
21.
19 is,
Number 8, I think.
no, what was your last one, Rich?
Number 19
Number 19,
is the Mountain View Interior Office renovations.
View interior relations.
Number 19.
okay, yeah, I'm looking at an old sheet.
what was 10?
That is 10.
19 was 10.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
eight
that
is,
should-
9 is 8.
7 is number.
I was looking at a,
And that makes 10. Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be 10. And as we said last year, Mr. Chair, you separated out the high school MSBA factor.
Right.
now they did, we did mention in the MSBA visit last week about the electrical switch, and they agreed that something like that needs to be replaced just to keep going on day-to-day operations, and stuff like that doesn't hurt the process.
Right.
Right.
I thought actually Diane Sullivan did a really nice job answering that. She said, anything that you need to do to keep the building going
Yep.
and programs going, you should do up to replacing an entire system.
Right.
You know, so when you're looking at the electrical system, something like that makes sense because it keeps everything going as opposed to upgrading for almost 3.6 million.
Yeah, but I think everybody needs to realize that we're just doing things to keep the building running,
I
Right.
just said 6.
and that's what we're being directed to.
It's 26.
Could Ms. Slattery read back what we
No.
might have? You can't?
I can try. If,
Someone took notes, right?
well,
Yeah, I think
I got
1, 2,
numbers.
3,
Tried to take
4,
notes.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. I mean, that was.
10.
After that, 26.
You want me to take a stab at it?
Which one are you sure?
6, 17, 31, 30, 1, 26, 38, 18, 7, 8, 19.
That's what I have. That wasn't confusing.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
That's what I have.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maple Shade Phase 2,
Yep.
Mountain View modular replacement, high school electrical switch, Meadowbrook parking lot replacement, Birchland Park carpet
Okay.
replacement, what's the,
Resurface.
resurface the
Resurface
track,
the track.
8, Mountain View gym floor replacement, Maple Shade asphalt and basketball hoops, Maple Shade roof, Mountain View interior renovation office.
That's it.
That's what I have.
Okay.
Any changes or thoughts?
One question, do you want to do anything with the repair of the roof skylights, where we're actually changing the domes?
Where are you now? Number 34?
That's 34.
Yes. That's not going to obviously handle all of the skylights?
But with that figure, is that something we can maybe look at the end of the year, where we are financially?
Well,
But
it's-
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be able to maybe go
I
up to
think
that level.
Bruce wanted to pickle at him a
Yeah.
ways ago. That's what he mentioned.
He probably won't be able to commit a crew from DPW, so they're looking at it as though they're going to hire someone to do it.
Yeah.
Are they leaking a lot? The ones we're talking about replacement?
I mean, it
Depends on the day.
Yeah, it depends on the storm, really.
well, I think I got the impression he was trying to do maintenance, just to, preventive maintenance.
Right, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Preventive maintenance.
And what makes it an article on the capital plan? Is 20,000 more,
20,000
50,000, 20,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty far in.
Yeah,
After number 2, we're at $1.8 million, which we're not gonna, well, maybe we'll get it.
Well, it depends, I mean, that.
Number 3, we're at $2 million.
Yeah.
yeah, so we can look at, see if that can be part of the maintenance plan and see
Yeah.
what they can spare.
Yeah, I mean, put it as number 11, I guess, just to
Yeah.
have.
Well, I think to put it on there, make it 11,
Yeah,
and
okay.
and we'll figure it
Shows
out.
us a priority.
Right.
So that is 38?
34.
High school repair roof skylights, 20,600.
Okay, so I'll bring back these as a prioritized list.
Okay.
What I'll do is I'll take it off the spreadsheet and break it out into a more of a memo
Yeah.
form.
Pictures, you have like pictures of the PowerPoint too?
I can do
I'll
it.
develop a PowerPoint.
I can do pictures.
Yeah. You want a motion?
It will be a presentation night, so we'll have a lot
I
of
think it's a
stuff on.
draft, I'd rather,
Well, do we need a motion to create the draft?
No, I think we can have a
Okay.
draft and then we'll move on to final. Yeah, all right, okay, thank you.
That way, if pricing changes for the furniture, we can have that number ready for everyone. And then we
Yes.
can vote on that.
Well, we don't have it included though.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're gonna hold, you wanna hold that
Oh, we're holding
off?
because we get reimbursed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But if you get an updated number, we can.
Yeah, it would be the updated,
We could
when
hear
the
it.
town starts talking about it.
All right, so we will have this back on our agenda in 2 weeks.
I do think it's of note that the 5-year capital plan came up as something that the members from the MSBA really saw as a positive document.
Well,
that this-
they wanted 2 years prior
Yeah.
to see what we were doing.
They were
which is
really-
It is
So we're
positive.
gonna update them this week on that. They were actually, that was probably one of the more helpful items that was
Yeah.
presented to them
Yeah.
the other day.
Really positive about
They
that.
really felt good about it.
Well, yeah, they understand that we are committed to keeping the building functionable, but on the tour, I'm sure, it pointed out where the deficiencies are. but no safety deficiencies, just 21st century.
I think their architect was pointing out where the deficiencies
Well, I'm
were,
sure he
as well
was.
as what he felt.
I'm sure he was.
Not a deficiency where I was seeing it as a deficiency.
But it spoke to the broader commitment to,
Correct.
from
And
the
that
school
part-
committee
that part did,
and
yes.
from the principals
Right.
as to how we prioritize
Yes.
the maintenance of our buildings, so that therefore it was seen as something of a strength.
Well, it was a positive
What we were
meeting.
adding to that.
It was a positive meeting, yeah.
And ultimately, I think they really appreciated that partnership that they could see between the town.
Right.
and
They were
that-
looking-
that
they were
support.
looking for that.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Yeah, it's really important to them. So it was very clear.
Okay, up next we have 7.1, report on professional development.
So in your packet, I provided everyone an outline of the different workshops that we had going back on October 11th, when there was a half-day. So this all happens in roughly, 2.5 hours. We try to provide professional development for all the different groups of staff members. Just a couple quick highlights. Birchland, Mountain View, Maple Shade, and some of Meadowbrook looked at iReady, which is a new software assessment package. And it, I thought, at least the presentations that I was able to sit in for a few minutes, I thought were really well done. And then I had the opportunity last week to present to the library trustees. And one of the trustees actually is a fourth grade teacher in Springfield. And before the meeting, she knew that we were starting to look at iReady, and she couldn't say enough good things about how you can, once you get into using this software, it can help you personalize it for students and really help them grow in ELA and math. It's not to replace the direct instruction, but it's set to augment the direct instruction. So I thought that was pretty neat, and so this gives us an opportunity to be much more flexible. You don't have to wait for the much larger sort of benchmark end-of-unit assessment. These, you can actually create assessments that may be 2-3 questions on a focus standard that you really want to have an idea where are the students on this. And that's what our goal is the hope is that we get to that level of flexibility and start really providing our teachers information that they can use on a daily basis. So I thought the iReady was well done. Albert I.O., I didn't get a chance to see that presentation, but Ms. Brown was up there, and I thought that was really well received at the high school, and that was more of a somewhat of a grassroots movement, if you will. I think originally starting with some of the advanced placement teachers, but then spreading as people had a chance to play with it. Then this was all last year, and then we were able to bring in the professional development on this October half-day. We're continuing our professional development with ST Math, which also is helping us do more personalization of math instruction. And our kindergarten teachers had not had an opportunity to be trained, so now they have begun the training process. And then we had our specialists off-site, which was pretty cool. This is through our partnership with Bay Path University here in East Long Meadow. So we used a couple of their conference rooms and gave them a variety of programs looking at, how we're supporting students who might be struggling with certain social and emotional needs or behavioral or anxiety. Anxiety seems to be not only a increasing situation, say, in East Long Meadow, I would say it's increasing nationally in our students. And so it's something that we need to look at and be aware of and continue to understand how we might best support. Because really, nothing happens for students if they're not feeling first safe and secure in the environment.
Mr. Smith, that
yeah.
column on the right, which lists names of people,
They were our hosts, so to speak, so when trainers arrived, they were the go-to people to just direct, I need an outlet, I need
oh, okay, I
projector.
thought they were the presenters. Okay.
No, these were, certainly Jeff Zilch probably could have presented. He's just the first one there.
Okay.
He's our technology instructional specialist. But they were our host, so to
Okay,
speak.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I just think it's a great way to be able to substantiate what we often talk about in terms of initiatives, and seeing those actually come into reality through strategic professional development for educators, so that families are
definitely,
aware, we're aware of what's going on in terms of the alignment
Of what's
between
going on, right?
what is presented here and then how that's followed up by the administrators and the educators back in the building as well as the
And
your
we're
office.
following up this week with all staff just to make sure that they're understanding, that yes, we're pushing these different software packages, but it's never to replace direct instruction. It's always to support and augment and give other avenues. If that message at all was lost in the last 2 weeks, we're going to reemphasize
Good.
that is the message.
Good. Good to hear.
Okay, excellent. Next up, we have 7.2, high school science team out-of-state robotics competitions.
So this is somewhat of an annual, or actually not even somewhat, it is an annual memo that our science/robotics team from the high school goes to a number of qualifying events, as you can see listed in the memo from Dr. Flanagan. At these events, many of which are out of state, so they do need school committee approval. Our different teams accumulate enough points to hopefully qualify for the World's Robotics Championships, which I think last year was held, or were held in Lexington, Kentucky. And we've had both high school teams go and elementary teams go, which is pretty exciting.
I just want to add that I bumped into Mr. Van Buren, the advisor, and he said the reason you have double dates there for the 7th of December, the 8th of February, and 15th of February is that as the team develops, he decides which of the events are best to go to on those dates. So he chooses that event depending on the team's ability. So they're not going to both events, they're going to one of the two once he decides.
Oh, okay.
And we did last year have, through most of the fall and winter events, I think the second highest scoring robot in New England. We got to get that on
Is that the guy you were on TV with?
Yeah, we got to show it off on Mass Appeal and throw some
I make a
different
move
things
to
around.
approve the high school science team out-of-state robotics competition dates.
Yes, motion made.
I'll second.
And seconded, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0.
you.
Another field trip.
So this is a field trip for our 8th grade foreign language students. They're looking to head to Hartford to see Learning on Stage, Latin Rhythms in Hartford on Friday, November 15th. Ticket price is $19 a ticket, but they are working with PTO right now to see if they can subsidize that a little bit, and they're waiting on the cost for transportation. So we don't have final cost on this yet, but the hope is that PTO will be able to provide some subsidy, and also I believe they're looking to keep it under 25. Under 20 if possible, but ticket price is already 19, so I don't know if that's possible, but to try to keep it under 25.
Okay. Move to approve the Birchland field trip request to the Theater of Performing Arts in Hartford, Connecticut, November 15th, 2019.
Motion made.
Second?
Seconded. So it says 109, or 107 students. That's all the students that are taking Spanish.
Correct. In 8th grade.
And how many students in 8th grade, roughly?
Generally, we're around 210.
Yeah, so about half.
Yeah.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a first shot at a calendar for the 2020-2021 East Long Meadow Public Schools. Wow, that's a strange number.
So this is a calendar that's just looking at the start of school, the vacations, other than the November Professional Development Day, which I believe is already in there, because that will be Election Day.
Yeah.
Right.
It does not have half-days placed, and it does not have the second full Professional Development Day, which this year was in March. We think we'd probably place it again in March. So the 16th and the 23rd in June are subject to be changed. Obviously, if you had another day that students aren't in school, we would have to move those out at least a day.
I was on the collaborative committee with Mr. Smith, so there was, it was a pretty good discussion of making sure that we began with a very good format as far as the first day of school, the last day of school, obviously, in vacations and holidays.
Why is the 4th marked as no school? Is that
Election.
from-
National
September, I
relief?
apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because that's not a holiday, that's something
Oh,
internal.
because that's the Friday before Labor Day, and traditionally we've given that off.
Is that something that we are contractually?
We're not.
It's not
No, but that
contractual, it
was
was something
always-
that we started
We could lose that.
probably
Mm-hmm.
8 years ago.
I'm just curious, because
Way back. That
Way
started
back,
when I
that was,
principal.
you know
Okay.
what?
Predates.
No, when I was here when we
Well,
started it.
part of
I would say
the,
8 years. I've been here, 11.
part of the.
Yeah, it was on,
Okay.
The way the discussion went originally was, parents were concerned about the long weekend, but they also they were entertaining the idea of starting before Labor Day, because the previous couple of years, we got out close to June 30th with snow days.
Right.
So when this was first crafted, I happened to be on the collaborative committee prior to you. It was floated, okay, let's do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to get the year running. Then you get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday as the long weekend, and everybody agreed with that, and it's been that way since.
This is somewhat,
You work.
In-
That's Friday, right? You have.
somewhat informal, but it did come up at the collaborative committee. There's a lot of back and forth in terms of adding a work day, but we know that we have to negotiate that. And we've attempted to, in 2 different contract negotiations, try to put another work day so that everything doesn't seem to be happening on that convocation day. But we haven't been successful in doing that. Informally, I think a lot of our staff use that Friday as their
Yes.
work day.
Yeah,
So the buildings are still open, it's a day off for students.
Right.
And then staff comes and goes, and tries to finish off anything that they maybe didn't get accomplished before school actually started.
this is just a draft, right? We're not voting on this right now?
This would be, it can be a draft, it can be tabled, absolutely.
I mean, I think that would definitely be something I'd like to see go back to that committee. If it's not a holiday and we have flexibility around it, then
Sure.
maybe we can work with that committee to formalize that, and it happens the day after convocation, and maybe kids come Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Because that still leaves it up.
You won't be able
in
to
the
do
air.
that piece unless we're negotiating.
Yeah.
Okay, well
Well,
then,
But we can bring it back to the discussion. Yeah.
Right, but we could have students Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and not Tuesday.
And do
Right.
convocation
Which is what you're saying.
on the Monday? And then give people.
What do you have it on now, the Friday?
No,
it's not
convocation,
No,
voting.
on the
no.
Tuesday.
Oh, do
so
convocation
but
on
then,
Tuesday.
in order to have,
We don't have that day.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that would have to be worked out in the future.
or the kids could go to school Tuesday through Friday.
They could, and start a day later.
And then,
What do you think about that day, Sophia? Do you know that day that we're talking about?
Yeah, where we have like the 4 days off instead of
You have
just.
3 days
Yeah.
of school,
Yeah.
4 days off, 4 days of school.
So with what we've been doing now with like the
First 3 days.
first 3 days kind of just, I don't know, getting to know your teachers and stuff like that, I think that it makes sense having that day off, because it's like those 3 days, and then on the 3rd day we do that kind of fair event thing. And then on Friday, we don't have school. So I think that if we did have school on that Friday and we had 4 days of school, then that whole kind of first 3 days would have to shift and be into the first 4 days. So I don't really know if that would be very productive, because kind of when we're doing the first 3 days, it's
Right.
great, and you get to know your teachers, and then on the 3rd day you do that event. But I don't know how that would work, adding another day kind of doing
What if you
that.
started Wednesday?
It would be Wednesday,
Wednesday,
Thursday,
Thursday,
Friday,
Friday.
and then Monday, Tuesday off?
No, you just have Monday off.
Just have Monday.
Monday, it's a 3-day weekend.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
But start a day later instead of Tuesday. That's what Mrs.
Oh,
Trujillo
so
was
we
talking
wouldn't
about.
even have
You
started
still have the
school?
3 days, you just start a day later and not have the not have the.
Oh, yeah, well, that would pretty much be the same.
The same.
It would just be shifted.
But I also think that's a unique case for the high school. So
Yeah.
when we look at the other 4 sites, being able to think about how are those days being used, and would that benefit, thinking about bringing some of our youngest students in, like how does that help support educators and students with that transition back? Getting used to routines, procedures,
Right.
instead of going in that kind of more staggered model. So I think for now, I would appreciate it being at least considered and talked about a little bit
Sure.
more, because
And it really, and
It's
we
not a
certainly,
holiday, it's the only
certainly
day
can
we
take
have
it
on there
back
that
to the
isn't.
collaborative committee, which does have representation from all the schools in terms of union representation. Ultimately, the choice sits with the school committee.
Yeah, we could just do it. I mean,
Yeah.
technically, we
yeah,
could
I
just.
mean,
I just want to say that, having been, when this was first drafted, this is an extremely popular start to the school year. So, I mean, if we're gonna make any kind of decisions, there could be, I'm just saying, it's an extremely popular way to start. the
Having
school
that
Yeah.
Friday
Yeah.
off.
Would the Friday be a half day? Or would it just?
No.
No,
Just regular day.
I like your style. I like it.
But it's, I mean, it's been
Duly
around,
noted.
it's been around for a while, so that particular change might be difficult.
And we can discuss it, why not?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just
so
think
we'll-
considering that this calendar is capturing only holidays, the start and the vacations, that day is neither of those.
Well,
Right.
it is, because it contributes to the start day, and then it's a vacation day.
Well, it's a vacation day we're making.
Right.
It's not.
Well,
yeah.
as are the
Yeah.
other 10 that we need
It's not
too.
recognized.
No,
I get your point.
Yes, but,
We have complete
yeah.
authority to change.
Yeah, we can
It's the
do,
only place it's recognized in East Long Meadow.
Yeah.
Very unique place.
We are.
We are trend-setting.
Yes.
oh, yeah.
We thought about 4-day weeks every week.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No.
Never thought about this.
Don't even
We
go
think
there.
school's a lot.
Don't even go
I'm
there.
just kidding, sorry.
There are models out there.
I think we meet at the end of October, don't we, Mrs. Smith Collaborative, I think?
I believe we do, yes.
Okay.
So
Might as well
back-
bring it
we
back.
Bring it back and then
Sure.
try to get it back on the
Thank you.
agenda.
Okay, great.
So I don't think we need
Good
any action
discussion.
on that, right?
Yeah, me too.
Do you want a motion to table or no?
Yeah, we just considered it today.
Okay.
We don't have to vote on it. Okay, anything else? No?
No.
Mr. Mackey, thank you so much. Sophia, thank you for being here and your input. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Motion made
Okay.
and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0. Thank you so much.